Dans la cabane tonight we cook à la Beef Bourguignon. Now, tonight, third night on the Corona Cabin Cook Show, and we are cooking comfort food. Now, everything we've cooked is kind of comfort food. It's all unhealthy, it's all rich, it all tastes good. And you know, that's really the kind of thing you want to eat. Although you're probably sitting on the couch all day, in this quarantine you're feeling bad about yourself because you haven't exercised, my theory is that instead of eating, you know, kale, Caesar vegan salads to compensate, you should just eat well to make yourself feel good. Anyways, this is a Julia Child classic. We have the art of French cooking right here. And this is one of her recipes that's very famous, but we're not cooking it in the traditional way. Generally, she would use a brisket, but we are going to use beef jerky. This beef jerky we have here, I dried. It's just a kind of very basic beef jerky. We also have our bacon here for lardon. We have some potatoes, onions, leeks, carrots, parsley, half a shallot saved from last night, and we're going to get some celery. I have it just over there. And now actually, some people were asking me how I keep my food cold here. And by some people, I mean just one person, that was my grandmother. And I did have this fridge that I was so proud of. I dug a hole and I buried a cooler with this lid on top. Just trying to make some dinner here, and I got a big problem. You know, my fridge flooded. This is my underground little fridge here. And I guess it filled with rainwater or something, but all my food I've had to take out. And but now my food is not in there. But I did have my food in the fridge before. So let's start this off. We're gonna take our bacon here, okay? 2 strips of bacon. And I'm doing things in pretty small portions because it's just for me. So I'm gonna go in half, and then I'm gonna go this way, cubes. All right, then the other way. And don't do the cubes too small because it's kind of rustic cabin food here. And to start us off, these are gonna go in a pot on the stove, and then we're gonna get everything else ready. All right, we're at the stove here. We got our lardon on the little plate here. You can see our lardon. And we're just gonna pop these into the pot. You can hear that sizzle, and my pot might actually be a bit too hot, so I'm gonna move it off to the side of my stove. You know, I got really bad heat control here. So our bacon's rendering, and we're gonna get everything else prepped. So we'll start with the onion. I got 1 onion, but I'm probably only gonna use half of it because I really don't have that much meat. So just ends off in half. Save this half. Peel one side. So we got our onion chopped there. It can just be rough slices. Don't worry about too much about the size. Then we have our half shallot here. And the shallot just adds a different flavor than the onion does. So we'll put that in too. Generally in restaurants you have to cut these like into tiny, tiny little squares that are all perfect. We're not gonna worry too much. We're just gonna go 1 slice in, 2 slice in, 3 slice in, and then we're gonna go this way. And then like that. All right, so just a kind of rough chop in squares. So our potatoes right here, I'm just gonna quarter them. So like that. Again, we wanna keep things pretty big because cooking country food here. We also got some ends of the leeks here, and we're just gonna put that in to increase flavor. I'm actually gonna go wash these because they're a bit sandy, and there's often sand in leeks, so you wanna be careful about that. All right, I've also grabbed some celery, and this is kind of a classic trio. You got your carrot, onion, celery, and that's called a mirepoix in French cooking. So I'm just gonna cut these up into pieces. Carrots, again, these are gonna dissolve, and we want them to be kind of whole, so I'm gonna keep them in big pieces. Potatoes, onions, carrots, celery, leeks, shallots. All right, bacon's gonna come off the heat, and I broke my wood spoon in half here, but I'm just gonna spoon this bacon out. You wanna keep the fat in the pan onto the plate here. Traditionally, you'd sear your brisket in this fat, but we got our beef jerky here. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna break it up into pieces and add the strips in. And we're just gonna give them a little sear. And we want them to soften, right, because they're hard. And that will happen throughout the process as we add the liquid. But I'm just gonna give it a little cook here in the bacon fat and start to get that to render. And it smells really nice. You can smell the bacon fat, and the beef is starting to release some scent too. Oh, fell on the floor, so just eat this one. Beef jerky and bacon fat could be a recipe by itself. Okay, so we're back at the stove. We've rendered our bacon, we've seared our beef, And now we're gonna start the veg. So right here, first thing that goes in is onions. And we've got our bacon fat heating. Onions right in. Alright, now you want to salt these onions. And it's really important to salt as you go, not just at the end. Because now the salt's going to get incorporated with all our flavors instead of just some of them. Next thing, we're going to add our shallots. And you want them to just be a bit brown when you add your shallots. So shallots in. There, this is my comfort cooking sweater, you know. Nice thick sweater, and it's a really cold day, but the stove is really getting a lot hotter than I've been able to get it before. So take off my comfort sweater. The shallots and the onions, I'm going to add a tiny bit of olive oil in just because it's getting a bit dry. They're already soaking all that up. Alright, so you don't want to add too much grease either, because then what's going to happen is when you cook it, it's going to be kind of greasy. So next thing that's going to go in is our clove of garlic. This is just crushed right in there. Okay, that's browning. Next thing that's going to go in is our carrots. Just right in there. Followed by our celery. Our pieces of leek can go in too. Next, I've got some homemade canned tomatoes. There you can see a homemade can of tomatoes. And these are just summer tomatoes canned, and that's going to go in next. And again, we're going to keep salting as we go through, so a bit more salt. Our beef and bacon can go back in, just like that. And traditionally, you'd make a bit of a roux where you'd cover this in flour and then put it in the oven to kind of let it get a crust. But we're not actually going to do that today. I just don't think it's a necessary step. Next, we're going to add our potatoes. So here we got our wine, and you can see it's a Pinot Noir. And Burgundy, actually, is made from Pinot Noir grapes. And Burgundy is the homeland of the Jerky Bourguignon. So what we're going to do is we're going to add this in. And traditionally, you would add a stock as well. But I just don't have a stock. So I just put some wine. And then we're going to let that sizzle. And then I'm going to add a tiny bit of water. Oh, you can really smell that now. The bacon, the wine, oh, all that fat, the beef just rendering away there. And then we're going to pop a cover on and let that cook. And you would traditionally put this in an oven, but I think I'm just going to do it on the stovetop. And we're going to add a bit more salt. Keep salting. And I'm going to add some fresh ground black pepper now. The whole cabin smells like red wine. You can smell the beef. You can see it there. Looks delicious. We're going to try this. I've just topped it with some parsley. Oh, let's get a bite of that. Oh. Wow. The meat's cooked down. That jerky's really softened. You can taste the wine, the broth. The fresh tomatoes are really nice. Potatoes are good. Wow. Cheers.